The stage is set at the Trump family's private residence, where a gathering of close friends and family seems calm on the surface. But beneath the luxurious chandeliers and polished marble floors, tension brews. Donald Trump, in a moment of candid reflection, makes a shocking comment about Barron that leaves everyone stunned. Melania, ever protective of her son, reacts in a way no one expected, setting off a chain of events that will have viewers questioning everything they thought they knew about the Trump family dynamics. The evening seemed ordinary, with the hum of casual conversations filling the Trump family's grand living room. Donald, wearing his signature confidence, was recounting a light-hearted story from Barron's childhood. However, in an unguarded moment, he made a passing remark about Barron's demeanor, implying he lacked his father's fiery charisma. The words, though casually delivered, struck a nerve in Melania. Her face tightened ever so slightly, her protective instincts as a mother igniting instantly. Barron, seated nearby, tried to maintain his composure, but the flicker of hurt in his eyes didn't go unnoticed. The room grew quieter as the comment lingered, leaving a ripple of tension in its wake. It was clear. This wasn't going to pass without a reaction. Melania, usually the epitome of grace, stood still for a moment. Her posture, once poised and controlled, now reflected an inner turmoil. Donald's casual remark about Barron had struck a chord deeper than anyone could have imagined. The room was heavy with silence, as Melania's eyes flashed with a mix of disbelief and anger. Without uttering a single word, she turned on her heel and began to walk away, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, each step echoing her resolve. Donald, momentarily caught off guard, watched her retreating figure, his expression a mixture of confusion and frustration. As Melania reached the door, she paused, turned back to look at Barron with a soft, protective gaze, then left the room. The weight of her decision hung in the air, leaving everyone stunned. What followed was a silence so thick it was almost suffocating. This wasn't just a simple disagreement. Something far deeper had been triggered. The aftermath of Melania's bold exit left the room in an almost unbearable silence. The air felt thick with tension, as Donald, still processing his words, seemed to struggle with understanding the gravity of what had just transpired. His once confident posture now appeared vulnerable. But it was Barron's reaction that spoke volumes. The 17-year-old stood motionless, his gaze fixed on the door where his mother had just exited. His face, usually composed and calm, now showed signs of internal conflict. It wasn't anger or outrage, just a deep sense of disappointment. Barron's silence said everything. As his father turned toward him, their eyes locked. In that moment, there was an unspoken understanding between them. Barron's expression was a mixture of hurt and confusion, and Donald's frustration grew as he realized the deeper rift that had formed between them all. The tension in the room was palpable, but Barron, with a calm yet determined air, stood firm. It was clear that whatever had just happened, the young Trump wasn't going to let it slide. It was the beginning of something much more significant than a simple family argument. The room was still charged with the electricity of Melania's sudden departure when she returned. This time, not just as a wife, but as a mother, fiercely standing up for her son. With every step she took toward Donald, the weight of her next words grew heavier. The eyes of everyone in the room were fixed on her, waiting for what was about to unfold. Melania's posture was unwavering, her presence commanding, and the silence that fell was deafening. She took a breath, her gaze locked on Donald, then she spoke, her voice both calm and resolute. "I may have agreed with you on many things, Donald, but this is where I draw the line." The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Donald's face was a mix of surprise and disbelief. He hadn't expected Melania to confront him like this. Not in front of others, and certainly not with the force of conviction she was showing now. She continued, her words cutting through the charged atmosphere like a blade. "Barron is my son," she declared, each syllable filled with strength. "He doesn't deserve to be dragged into anything like this, especially not by you. As a mother, I will always protect him. You may be the president of this country, but in this moment, you are a father who needs to understand his place." Her words were direct. No room for misunderstanding. The room's energy shifted as the weight of her statement settled in. Donald, usually quick to retort, remained silent. His jaw clenched, but there was no anger in his eyes. There was something else? Regret, maybe? It wasn't clear. But what was clear was that Melania wasn't going to let him off the hook easily. "This isn't about politics, Donald," Melania went on, her voice softening just a little, but the firmness in her words never wavered. "This is about family, about respect. You cannot continue to ignore the way your words affect Baron. It is not just about your public image, it's about his well-being." As Melania spoke, the room around her seemed to shrink, everyone hanging on to her every word. The air was heavy with emotion, with the weight of everything she had endured in silence now coming to light, and in the midst of it all, Donald had no defense. There was no quip, no offhand comment. Melania had put him in a position where all he could do was listen. Her strength wasn't just in her words, it was in the sheer presence she commanded, and the unwavering determination behind every syllable. Her final words landed like a blow. "If you can't see that, then I don't know where we go from here." And with that, she turned to leave once again, her figure retreating into the distance as everyone was left in stunned silence. This was the moment that would reshape everything, not just in their relationship, but in the world's perception of Melania Trump. As Melania's powerful statement hung in the air, the entire room was frozen. Her words had struck a chord, and now it was time for the family to respond. Each member of the Trump family processed the events in their own way, and their reactions would define the fallout from this shocking moment. What happened next was nothing short of a turning point, a moment of unity, division, and an eye-opening reflection on what truly matters. The first response came from Baron Trump. Although the youngest of the Trump children, Baron had always been somewhat of an enigma to the public. But on this occasion, he stood as a silent yet powerful figure in the midst of the family chaos. With his tall frame and quiet demeanor, he hadn't expected to be thrust into the center of such a dramatic moment. But as the tension escalated between his parents, Baron's face spoke volumes. For the first time, Baron seemed to show a level of emotional maturity far beyond his years. As Melania walked away from Donald, Baron's eyes followed her, and a subtle shift in his expression could be seen, something that resembled understanding. He had witnessed his mother's strength, but it was also clear that Baron was deeply affected by the exchange. His deep respect for Melania was evident, and it seemed like he was beginning to grasp the magnitude of what was unfolding. Baron's quiet strength became a reflection of his mother's, something that went unnoticed by the public, but spoke volumes to those who had been watching. He was, in many ways, caught in the middle of a situation that would alter his own sense of family dynamics forever. The public might not have heard his voice in this moment, but his eyes spoke the truth. Baron understood, and he was silently processing the weight of it all. As the events unfolded, Donald Trump found himself at a crossroads, caught between the woman he had vowed to spend his life with and the child he had promised to protect. But the challenge wasn't just about choosing sides, it was about reconciling two opposing forces that were now at odds within his own heart. For the first time, Donald Trump wasn't in control. He had spent a lifetime wielding power, making calculated decisions, and navigating public perception. But Melania's departure forced him to face an emotional side he had long ignored. The walls around his heart seemed to crack ever so slightly. In private, Donald's emotional turmoil became apparent. The man who had faced countless controversies and media storms now stood at the precipice of losing the respect and love of his wife. He wasn't angry at Melania. There was no blame. There was a sense of confusion, of vulnerability, a stark contrast to his usual confident and commanding presence. Donald's mind raced as he pondered his next move, weighing the delicate balance of family and duty. The absence of Melania in his life was a stark reminder of how easily relationships could unravel if they weren't nurtured with care. Donald's response wasn't a quick one. It took time for him to fully process everything. But once he understood the gravity of the situation, he knew he had to make things right, both for Baron and Melania. Ivanka Trump, always the poised and calculated daughter, was the first to reach out to Melania following the shocking moment. As someone who had witnessed her parents' complex relationship over the years, Ivanka understood the delicate nature of family dynamics. She respected Melania's decision and, in a rare show of solidarity, expressed her full support. "I can't imagine what you must be feeling right now," Ivanka said as she gently touched her mother's shoulder. "But I admire your strength. You stood up for Baron in a way that no one else could." It was a moment of healing for both women. Ivanka, as a mother herself, understood the deep instinct to protect one's children. And Melania, in turn, felt a sense of comfort knowing her daughter was there for her during such a tumultuous time. Ivanka's support was pivotal. It reinforced the notion that Melania's actions, while shocking, were not only justified but necessary. The family's bond began to strengthen in ways that hadn't been seen in public before. Ivanka's understanding was a balm for Melania's soul. She had made a bold statement for Baron, but now it was time to mend the rift, even if that meant making hard decisions about how to navigate her marriage. As the days went by, the broader Trump family began to weigh in on the unfolding events. The public had already weighed in, but it was time for the Trump children to share their thoughts. Don Jr., Eric, and Tiffany Trump were all taken aback by the public confrontation between their parents, but their reactions varied. Don Jr., ever the outspoken one, expressed his concern about how the situation might affect the family's public image. "This isn't the way we usually do things," he remarked, trying to keep a level head. "But I understand why Melania did what she did. Baron's been through enough." Eric, quieter than his older brother, showed his support for Melania's bold move. "Sometimes people just need to see things from a different perspective. Melania did what she had to do. She's the glue that holds this family together." Tiffany, too, shared her respect for Melania's actions, but she also expressed a desire for peace within the family. "This isn't just about our public image," she said. "This is about family, and I want us to heal from this. We need to stick together." Each of their responses reflected the unique bond they shared with both their parents, but there was one common thread running through it all. They all understood the power of Melania's statement, even if it was uncomfortable for the family. Outside the Trump family, the world watched with bated breath as the story continued to unfold. The public's reaction was intense, and social media was flooded with mixed opinions. Some supported Melania's stance, praising her for taking a stand as a mother. Others criticized Donald, questioning his lack of empathy for Baron. The media had a field day with the situation, speculating about the future of the Trump family and whether the couple's marriage could survive such a public rift. What was clear, though, was that the story had captured the public's attention. Everyone had an opinion on what had transpired. But the family's response was measured. They chose to handle the situation with dignity, refusing to air their private lives in public any further. Melania and Donald knew that healing had to happen behind closed doors, away from the prying eyes of the media. As time passed, the family took steps to heal. Donald and Melania's bond was tested, but they emerged stronger for it. Baron, too, grew in ways that few expected. He had witnessed not only the public fallout, but also the power of family unity. It was a lesson that would stay with him for the rest of his life. While the public may never fully understand the complexities of their relationship, the Trump family had learned that, at the end of the day, family came first. Melania's bold actions had reshaped their family dynamics, and it was clear that, no matter what, the Trumps would always stand together, through thick and thin. And the world watched, knowing that this chapter had forever altered the course of their family's story. The aftermath of Melania's dramatic walkout sent shockwaves not only through the Trump family, but also across the globe. What happened next wasn't just a family drama. It was a moment that reverberated through the media, the political landscape, and the public's perception of the Trump family dynamics. As news of Melania's walkout spread, media outlets went into overdrive. What had been an intense family moment turned into a global spectacle. Every news network, social media platform, and tabloid picked up the story, and the story became the subject of endless speculation. While some outlets focused on the personal side of the story, wondering if Donald and Melania's marriage was on the rocks, others focused on the more political implications of Melania's actions. As news of Melania's walkout spread, media outlets went into overdrive. What had been an intense family moment turned into a global spectacle. Every news network, social media platform, and tabloid picked up the story, and the story became the subject of endless speculation. While some outlets focused on the personal side of the story, wondering if Donald and Melania's marriage was on the rocks, others focused on the more political implications of Melania's actions. For Donald Trump, this incident had immediate and long-term consequences. While he had weathered numerous controversies in the past, both political and personal, this particular moment placed him in a unique and vulnerable position. The public was used to seeing him as a powerful figure, someone who dominated every room and knew how to manage the narrative. But now the optics were different. Donald Trump, the father, the husband, and the political leader, appeared less in control. The media painted a picture of a man who had lost his grip on his family, and in some ways this story overshadowed his political endeavors. It was the kind of personal scandal that could damage any politician's public image, but in Donald's case, it carried additional weight. Was he being shown as weak? Could his family dynamics jeopardize his leadership? And how would the public respond to a man who couldn't even control his own household? These questions lingered for days, with every public appearance and statement from Donald scrutinized for signs of strain. The criticism came not only from political opponents but also from sections of the public who had previously been loyal to him. The incident made Donald's already controversial persona even more complex, as he was now seen through the lens of family drama, a dimension he had previously managed to avoid in his career. The ripple effect didn't stop with Donald's personal image. It soon found its way into the political arena. For some of Donald's detractors, Melania's walkout was seen as a sign of broader unrest in the Trump family. What some believed was an act of defiance against the patriarch of the family quickly became a metaphor for the disarray within his leadership. Political analysts began to ask tough questions. Did Melania's move signal a fracture in the public image of the Trump family? Was this an early warning sign that Donald's political career might soon unravel? Critics were quick to suggest that if Melania, a key figure in his public life, could walk out on him, what did that say about his ability to lead the country? Some even drew comparisons between Melania's walkout and key moments in political history where personal scandals or family issues had toppled leaders. While some of this was hyperbole, the political ramifications of the incident were undeniable. Donald's political enemies seized on this moment, framing it as a potential weakness they could exploit. Every public rally and appearance became an opportunity for critics to point to the fractured family dynamic as a symbol of his leadership. In the aftermath, the Trump family was forced to take a strategic approach to manage the fallout. Public relations specialists were called in to navigate the media frenzy, crafting carefully worded statements and appearances that would shift the focus back to their achievements and political ambitions. Donald and Melania made multiple joint appearances, seemingly trying to repair the rift, but that the cracks in their public image were undeniable. Every movement, every interaction between the couple was analyzed, critiqued, and dissected by the press. Their every word was weighed, and any sign of tension was immediately amplified. But the Trump family wasn't used to sitting back and letting others control the narrative. They fought back with the full force of their brand, using their familiar platforms to reassure their followers that everything was under control. Donald Trump, as always, insisted that he would not let this distraction affect his political goals. But the press and public were unconvinced. Melania Trump, for her part, was relatively quiet during the aftermath. The public wondered if she would speak out more aggressively or become more vocal in her defense of her actions. But instead of diving into the media frenzy, Melania chose a different route. She stayed poised and quiet, refusing to let the drama define her. Melania's subtle response was powerful in its own way. By not engaging with the media circus, she sent a message. She wasn't interested in playing into the hands of those who sought to turn her personal life into a spectacle. Instead, she took control of her narrative by remaining dignified and composed, letting her actions do the talking. In the days that followed, Melania emerged as an even stronger figure. The public admired her ability to maintain composure, and her quiet strength began to resonate with people across the world. Her refusal to be dragged into the media circus was seen as a statement of confidence and self-respect, and her place within the family, though tested, was now seen as even more unshakable. Perhaps the most profound ripple effect was felt by Baron Trump. The young boy who had witnessed his family's public fracturing now found himself in the spotlight. While he had previously been shielded from the media, Baron became a symbol of both innocence and resilience. Despite the drama surrounding him, Baron remained poised and calm, showing a maturity that was unexpected for someone his age. His presence became a focal point for the family, his silence speaking volumes about the strength of his upbringing. As the world watched Baron, many saw the quiet strength of a child who had lived through the spectacle of his parents' public lives. The attention he received, though overwhelming, also highlighted the importance of his role in the Trump family dynamic. Baron's growth and reaction to the situation would, in many ways, shape how the public viewed the Trump family moving forward. The ripple effect of Melania's walkout continued to unfold long after the initial shock had worn off. From Donald Trump's political image to the public's perception of the family, every move was watched and scrutinized. Yet, the most profound impact was on the Trump family's inner workings. What had started as a dramatic family moment became a defining event, one that tested the strength of their bond and forever changed the way the world saw them. And as the dust settled, it was clear that the ripple effect wasn't over. The Trump family had faced a storm, but they had weathered it together.